This Lego Batman is a 3-color job, plus it's got PETG support, so it's a 4-material print. This vinyl toy-inspired Ahsoka is a 5-color job, including the PETG supports, so 5 materials. This model of my son in a Death Trooper outfit with some of the accents from a Mandalorian is also a 7-color job, including the PETG supports. And this one is a superhero version of my friend
Jared pulling FroKnowsPhoto.com.
In this video, I'm going to explain to you why I think that this is the most consumer-friendly commercial-grade printer that has ever existed, but also how I think it's probably not the right machine for most people, and maybe not the right machine for you. This video is not sponsored, by the way, and Bambu has never sponsored a video. They sent me the printer to test, and Bambu doesn't get to see it until you get to see it, and all the opinions are my own. Now, if I said to you, was this done on the H2C or the P2S or the X1 series, you would have absolutely no way to know, right? These can all be done on any of those printers when coupled with the AMS Pro or the AMS Pro 2. But what makes these prints from the H2C special is what is missing from them, and what is missing is a waste of material and a waste of time. All of these prints produced zero waste, and thanks to the new multi-nozzle system in the H2C, they were completed in a fraction of the time that they would have taken on the Bambu P2S or similar multicolor systems. On the P2S, this one would have taken 1 day and 20 hours and generated 118 grams of waste, but on the H2C, it took 19 hours and had no waste at all. But let's forget the waste for a second. That's a 26-hour difference. If you're running a print farm doing multicolor prints, the H2C will pay for itself in time saved in almost no time at all. Bambu knows who this printer is for. It wasn't designed to sit on every desk like they designed the P1 or the A1 materials. It is a production-level machine that uses some state-of-the-art technology that they created to solve some problems with multifilament printing that they also created. Let's talk about where this fits in. Bambu was one of the pioneers of multicolor multifilament printing. There are other companies doing their own multicolor and multifilament solutions, but Bambu Lab brought the multifilament workflow to the masses. But it also created a lot of waste, both in material and time, but the material is the real problem for me. Some multicolor jobs could take days to print and produce a spool or more of filament poop. So then Bambu released the H2 printers, and I think it was a bit of a misstep. I also review laser engravers and cutter systems. I don't think that a chamber full of smoke and sawdust from cutting wood makes a lot of sense, but I don't know, maybe it's a good idea. But the H2C, I think it hits it out of the park. Everyone really expected to see a multi-tool head system from Bambu, but instead we got a new nozzle system and a nozzle exchanging system that looks like it's out of a Honda automated car plant. While companies like Prusa and others are tackling 4-color printing, the H2C unlocks 24-color printing. Two different approaches, and it feels to me like the H2C is the better solution, at least for now. I ran an Etsy shop for a while selling cosplay pieces like this Mandalorian helmet, and I used the P2S, the Centauri Carbon, and whatever other printers were in my studio. But a lot of prints turned into garbage when the supports would cling to the piece and leave marks behind or pull some of the pieces off. The solution is to print with a different material for the support interface, and you can see a video that I did about that right up here. So I'd print PLA with PETG support tips and the supports stopped clinging, but the print time tripled or quadrupled and the waste drove up the costs. Now that I have the H2C, I've almost entirely stopped using the P2S for that kind of work. So let's talk about the most important feature of the H2C and what I think will change the 3D printing landscape again. The H2C uses a Vortek hot end changing system. Instead of one hot end that has to purge filament every time you switch colors or materials, you get 6 interchangeable induction nozzles plus 1 standard hot end. 7 total nozzles that can each be assigned to a different filament. That induction heating system brings those hot ends up to temperature in just 8 seconds after it grabs them from the nozzle carousel. What's brilliant about this is that the system knows which filament was loaded into each hot end. So say you do a single color TPU print, and then next up you do a 4-color PLA print, and then you go back to doing TPU. Normally you'd have to just purge between those jobs, but the H2C just leaves the TPU in that nozzle, so it can just go back to the right nozzle for each job without having to purge the nozzles between it. And you can have different nozzles for different jobs. In addition to the 4.4 nozzles on my carousel, I also have a 0.2 and a 0.6. When I was doing this helmet at my desk, I just picked the 0.6 nozzle to print with, and then I hit print, and that was done. And then I'd switch back to a 0.4 nozzle to do something like this, or something like this. Now the left nozzle is still an older quick change system, so if I want to match nozzle sizes on both sides, I have to swap out the left one manually. It's not a huge deal, but I think that the next generation of this will have induction nozzles on both sides. And the cool thing is that the system can scale up too, so you can connect multiple of the AMS2 Pro units together, and you can work with 24 different materials in a single job. That's crazy sauce. If you only have one AMS or no AMS, you can still load filament into the left side with a manual spool holder. That way you could do 4 colors on one side and 1 color on the left older style printhead. Once you get past those 7 colors, you're back to some purging since multiple filaments have to share those hot ends, right? But the algorithm optimizes which filament goes to which hot end in order to minimize waste. The build chamber on this thing is huge. It's 300 by 320 by 325 millimeters. If my math is right, and let me know in the comments if it is not, since I don't math well, that is 1,023 cubic inches for the P1S and 2,127 cubic inches for the H2C. That is not a small difference. Get it? Small difference. The chamber itself is fully enclosed and it can be actively heated up to 65 degrees Celsius. The H2C uses an adaptive airflow system. It's not just heating the chamber, it manages the airflow to keep a stable temperature throughout the print. It's got this cool auto pop-up vent that looks like a retractable spoiler on an old Porsche. Also, you can print PLA with the doors closed because the H2C's thermal management handles all that. So your enclosure stays closed and your print stays consistent, and if you're like me, you're not going to smash into the open doors. The X1E has active heating, but it tops out at 60 degrees, while the H2C does 65. Those 5 extra degrees matter when you're doing really high temperature engineering materials that can get sensitive to warping. And Bambu says it's a fully sealed enclosure made from UL94V0 flame retardant materials, so you can print a working fireplace for your little 3D dioramas. Don't do that. All the hot ends on the H2C can reach 350 degrees Celsius, while the X1 Carbon and X1E both max out at 300 degrees. For people printing PLA or PETG, only that 50 degree difference won't really matter, but that 50 degrees does open up some materials that you can't do on the X1 series. The H2C also uses a 3-stage filtration system with, get this, a G3 pre-filter, a HEPA filter, and a coconut shell activated carbon filter. That was not a mistake. It uses a filter made out of coconuts. You can do some really serious engineered materials. Bambu says that there are 59 sensors on the H2C and there are 4 cameras. Bambu says it all feeds into a proprietary neural algorithm.
I really hate that everything says it's AI these days.
Failures I had were mostly bad models. The display is big and beautiful and bright. It is a 7-inch LCD touchscreen. The UI is excellent overall, although some things aren't labeled the way you'd expect. Turning on the filament dryer on the AMS2 Pro requires tapping on an icon instead of a word that just says dry. That would be better. But the AMS setup screen is pretty brilliant. It shows the left and the right nozzles with icon for each connected AMS above them. As you add more AMS, just more icons appear for what's inside of them. The software and app are the same Bambu Studio and Bambu Handy app that you're already using, so the workflow is familiar if you're coming from any other Bambu machine. You can pick nozzle sizes or flow rates right on the software itself. Switch from a 0.6 to a 0.4 between prints, it just selects it from the drop-down in Bambu Studio. Now, of course, the left nozzle you still swap manually. The H2C reads what's installed to make sure it's configured correctly, so you can't just use an A1 series nozzle, even though they look almost identical. Okay, so the Bambu H2C is a fantastic printer, right? But I said I was going to talk about whether this printer is right for you or not. Right now, the Bambu P2S combo is about $800. The Bambu H2C combo is about $2,400. That is $1,600 different. You could spend a lot of money on wasted filament and not even come close to the price of the H2C over the P2S. You can see my review of the P2S right up here. If you're a print farm, it's probably much better to go to the H2C. If you're printing things that are larger than the print bed of the P2S, you have to go to the H2C. And if you're printing filaments that really require temperature regulation and temperature consistency, again, it's the H2C. But for probably 80 to 90% of the typical Bambu customers, this is not the right printer. Since you made it this far, I want to know, why are you watching this video? Are you thinking about getting the H2C? Have you got a little buyer's remorse over getting a P2S recently? What is it about the H2C that is attractive to you? Let me know in the comments below. Oh yeah, while you're watching this video, your plumber called.
I have to talk to you about this broken pipe, but first, like and subscribe.
For Dave Tries This, I'm David Schloss, and as always, thanks so much for giving this a try.